All right, today we're jumping into a really powerful folktale, The Wise Parrot. It's a story that honestly packs a serious punch about something we all deal with: trust. What's amazing about this story is how it serves as this timeless warning. It shows us just how easily a bond that took years to build can be completely shattered in a single moment of panic and suspicion. And really, that brings us to the core question of this entire story, one that kind of hangs over every single decision from here on out. What is the true price of doubt? So our story kicks off in the court of a respected Raja, a king who relied on a very unusual and incredibly valuable companion. On one side, you've got the Raja, a powerful ruler, and on the other, you have Hiramanatota, a parrot. But listen, this was not just any parrot. Hiramanatota was exceptionally wise, with this almost magical ability to predict the weather and even see good fortune coming. And this right here is the key to their whole relationship. The Raja didn't just have this parrot around for show. He valued its advice on all important matters. I mean, think about that for a second. A king's most trusted advisor was a bird. That's the level of trust we're talking about here. It was basically a cornerstone of his rule. But, a bond this deep is about to be tested. An unexpected arrival is going to force a really difficult choice, setting in motion a journey and a solemn promise that will change absolutely everything. So one afternoon, a whole flock of parrots flies in from Hiramanata's homeland, and he's just overcome with this desire to see his family again. So he respectfully asks the Raja for permission to go with them for a visit. Seems like a simple enough request, right? Well, the Raja's reaction is anything but simple. He's actually deeply disturbed by this. For the very first time, he starts to question his friend's loyalty. He's wondering, is Hiramanatota ever going to come back? And that's the first tiny crack in their perfect trust. He reluctantly agrees, but the damage is starting. Now Hiramanatota can sense the king's doubt, so to prove his loyalty is absolute, he makes this huge promise. He says he will not only return, but he will bring back a legendary, almost mythical gift, the fruit of immortality. Hiramanatota fully intends to keep his promise. But as we're about to see, a cruel twist of fate is about to step in, turning what should have been a symbol of loyalty into a source of absolute tragedy. And true to his word, Hiramanatota comes back, and he has this magnificent golden fruit. He gives it to the Raja with some really noble advice. He says, don't just eat it. Plant it. That way, a whole tree can grow, and this incredible gift can benefit not just you, but all of your people. The tree grows super fast, but then comes this one night, a night of just pure, tragic coincidence. The very first fruit ripens and falls to the ground. Then, in the dark, a venomous snake just happens to slither by and touches the fruit, poisoning it. By morning, a gardener finds it, with no idea of the deadly venom it's now carrying. And this single awful event leads us right to the climax of the story. This is the moment where good advice, when it gets mixed with suspicion, becomes a death sentence. So, following the parrot's wise and very pious advice, the Raja decides that the very first fruit from this miraculous tree should be given as a sacred offering to God. So it's presented to the court's priests. The priests, they accept the offering, they eat the fruit, and they die. Instantly. The entire court is just thrown into shock and horror. The fruit of immortality has just become a fruit of instant death. The Raja's shock very quickly turns back to that suspicion, and his other ministers, well, they fan the flames. Maybe they saw a chance to get rid of a rival advisor, who knows. But they start planting this terrible idea in the king's head. This was no accident. This was a plot by Hiramanatota to assassinate you and your family. And this is the most crucial part. The Raja, just completely blinded by rage and his own doubt, he refuses to even listen to his friend. The poor parrot gets no chance to explain, no chance to defend himself. And in a moment of pure fury, the Raja kills his wisest, most loyal companion.
But the story doesn't end there. As is so often the case with these kinds of tragedies, the truth has a way of coming out, even if it's way too late.
So the Raja orders a fence to be built around this now infamous tree. Sometime later, an unhappy, elderly couple, they decide they want to end their lives, and they decide to do it by eating the poisonous fruit. But they don't die. Instead, a miracle happens. They become young again. News of this goes wild, and the Raja, just completely baffled by this, finally orders a proper investigation. And the investigation, it uncovers the simple, devastating truth. A snake had poisoned only that one fruit, the very first one that fell to the ground. All the other fruits on the tree were perfectly safe. In fact, they were the real fruits of immortality the parrot had promised all along. And with that truth revealed, well, the only thing left for the king is the crushing weight of his mistake. The full scope of what he's done just comes crashing down on him. The moral of the story is laid completely bare in the king's own realization. It wasn't poison that killed Haramanatoda. It wasn't some evil plot. His friend was sacrificed because of the king's own internal weakness, his suspicious mind, and his complete, catastrophic failure of faith. He was overcome with a regret so deep it would probably haunt him for the rest of his life. And all he could do was ask for forgiveness from the friend he had so terribly wronged. And this leaves us with one final, lingering question. And it's not just for the Raja, it's for all of us, right? This story is like a powerful mirror. It forces us to look at ourselves and ask, how often in our own lives do we let one small seed of suspicion poison a much larger truth?